My name is Jinx, and this is Queers and Steers. Right, just enjoy the ride. And baby, what a ride it fucking is. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode. I really want to thank everyone for all of the support from Interracial Impetus. I had a couple of people send me emails, which I'll get to in a little bit. So I'm really ramping up. I'm releasing at least two episodes a month. And so today it is MLK Day and Cheeto Inauguration Day, which, oh my God, like I haven't watched any of what Trump has had to say. I'm really just looking to see if anything crazy happens. And already it is just after 4 p.m. on Monday the 20th. And so much has just happened. Elon just did a Nazi salute on live TV on CNN. Just watch that. Yep. Like actually did the whole thing. Like it was nothing. So yeah, it's barely been 4 hours of this new presidency and we are already seeing Nazism and bigotry live in front of our eyes. And I think the scary part is half the country essentially wanted this. Now, I'm not saying that half the country I don't want to say half the country didn't necessarily know that these people were fascists and racist, but it's like, how can you not know? Which I think just speaks to a lot of what I'm going to cover today about segmentation and fragmentation and our minds just being completely numbed and only able to see what we want to see. And so all of that will be coming in this episode. I don't have a name for the episode today, honestly. I try to do all of that before I start recording. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I wasn't going to do this today. I had intended to do it today for a long time, but I just woke up with a headache and I honestly just wasn't in the mood. But I am holding myself accountable to do the things that I want to do. I really enjoy sitting here on my couch and speaking to you all about what's going on in the world. And hopefully, even if one person walks away from these podcasts with a new approach to life, in a good way, obviously, not a negative way, then that makes me feel good. So I'm here feeling chill, feeling a little sore, my head hurts. I started smoking the little vape pen again, and it's been good. I can really only take one hit. Like I took one hit before recording this, and I feel I feel calm. I think when I tried this a few weeks ago, I had like a little indica one. And I don't know if it was just a bad cart or if this is just what indica does, but it made me feel so anxious and crazy. This one I think this one's a sativa dominant hybrid. It's like 60-40, but one hit is like just feeling really good. So before we get into the thick of this episode, which really is about the ruling class, everything about what you'll hear today is just the ruling class, what they've done to us to keep themselves in power, how we contribute to them staying in power, what's to come now under Trump's presidency that will last at least 4 years, if I'm hypothesizing. So before we get into all of that, let's get to the housekeeping a little bit. So I currently have 300 subscribers on my YouTube channel. My goal by summer is to get 1,000. So it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of consistency on my end. But what I really hope from you all is just share it however you can. If you're watching this on YouTube, share the link with a friend, post it on your social media. If you're listening via Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, do the same thing, like tell a friend. Somebody recently told me that they were giving the link to my podcast to their entire family, which I don't know if they necessarily, and this was a white person, I don't know if their white family necessarily cares about what Black biracial person thinks of like interracial dating and growing up biracial. But I appreciate the effort. And like in these times, again, we're talking about the ruling class. We need to care more and show that we care more by showing up for creators and people like me who are doing the grassroots work and informing and educating, because I do this shit for free. Like I'm not monetizing. I don't have enough followers for that. I don't have enough reach for that stuff. And I'm hoping that this takes me beyond this platform. I don't know what that means yet, but yeah, your support really means a lot. So please subscribe. please like, please watch, please stream this in the background while you're cooking, even if you don't watch it. It really helps with getting my page seen. So for everyone who is here supporting and sharing and liking and commenting and subscribing, I love you so much. Like, it really means the world to me. And I'm just happy to be here. Despite everything that's going on, I'm really happy to be here. So, housekeeping done. Let's start off with our peak. So peak and pit, highs and lows since the last time we spoke. So my peak, my high point, let's see. You know what, I'm gonna do this. I went to see One of Them Days, SZA and Keke Palmer and Issa Rae's new movie, and Mark Lamont, director? I'm looking at my iPad now. Is it Mark Lamont? No, it's not. Why am I saying Mark Lamont? That's the news dude. Hold up, I just fucked this all up. Lawrence Lamont. I knew it was Lamont. I don't know why I thought it was Mark. Yeah, so Lawrence Lamont directed, Keke Palmer and SZA starring, Issa Rae production. So a homie that honestly I didn't even really know. I don't even think we met in person until he was in town for this premiere, but I saw that he was in Atlanta. He lives in LA. And I was like, hey, how long are you here? He's like, oh, only for 2 days. And I said, oh, well, let me know if I can show you around or whatever. And he's like, oh, do you want to see an early screening of One of Them Days? And he sent it on Instagram, and I don't have Instagram notifications on. I highly encourage you to also turn off your social media notifications if you want some inner peace. But by the time I saw it, like hours had gone by, and I was like, fuck, man, I'm probably gonna miss the deadline to RSVP or whatever. But again, us not knowing each other, he found my email address on my social media. He talked to the other people who were like curating the production, and then I got an email saying like, hey, you and a +1 get to go to an early screening. So I took my boyfriend. Movie was amazing. Like, I know you can see now, the movie's been out for 3 days now. It started with 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is, I think, at 97 as of me recording this, but everyone keeps saying it reminds them of Friday. It's like a female, or I guess faggy version, because there are gay people in the film, but just in general, like, it's our sisters, like a faggy or female version of Friday. And I see that, it's cute. It's like that era of Friday and Scary Movie, and kind of like some of it is slapstick, but also there are parts of the movie that you just wouldn't expect to be in the movie. I'm not going to spoil it, but go support Black-owned, Black-run, Black talent, One of Them Days in theaters now. This is not promoted. I'm just saying this because it's real and it was really fucking funny. So that's my peak. My pit, oh gosh, this whole episode is going to be a pit considering the inauguration today. But I bought this house in 2023. It was my first home purchase ever. Really grateful for being able to do this on my own without any help. The trees in my neighborhood are old and dying, and everywhere you go, there's either a tree down or a limb down. A few nights ago, a pretty significantly sized tree limb fell on my roof. It was at least 30 feet long and maybe 3 feet in diameter. It was a big bitch. But luckily, damage was minimal. There wasn't like a hole or a puncture. Like the drip edge of the roof by the gutter is kind of fucked up. I know I should probably go up there and look at the extent of it, but where it's fucked up isn't like the part that's over the house or the attic to where critters or things can get in. It's just a little fucked up. So that was a blessing that didn't go as bad as it did, but I think it's scary. That's kind of just the gist of it. It's scary to invest a lot of money in something, this home, for it to just be like in the blink of an eye, it could just be gone in a second. And so, here's a hot tip. If you're watching or listening to this and you're in Atlanta, so Georgia law says that if someone else's tree or branches or anything from their yard falls in your yard, it is your responsibility to pay to remove it. Don't know why. I'm not sure if there are any other states in which that's the reality, but here in Georgia, that's how it works. However, if the tree is dead or dying, and you send certified mail to your neighbor telling them that it is, you're off the hook. So I just did that over the weekend. I sent them a certified letter. It's a husband and wife. The wife came over the other day after I mailed it. Actually, I think she came over yesterday. She's like, hey, I really appreciate your letter. I'm really sorry. Like, that tree has been the bane of our existence and we have a lot going on personally, so that hasn't been a priority, but just know we're going to get some quotes and look at least trimming the ones over your yard so they're not falling over there. So it was really, so this pit turned into a peak. They grow their own food. She's like, oh, I got plants and pots. I'm going to bring you over stuff. So even though it's like an uncomfortable conversation to have, I'm grateful for people who are like, you know what, I'm going to do the neighborly thing. So yeah, trees, man. If you ever buy a house and want house buying tips, I guess that would be my first tip, is like really look at the state of trees and just shrubs and like bugs and all that shit. Because when I moved here, it was so quick. I didn't even really think about that. I just walked into the house and was like, oh, it has nice new finishes and it's affordable and in budget. Cool, I'm done. And this house has been fantastic. There are just things that I would definitely look for next time. So if you intend to buy your first home and you want some advice or tips on that, feel free to just email me at hello@queersandsteers.com. I am not a real estate agent or anything, but if I can give you some tips to look out for, happy to do that. I'm going to get to the emails that were sent to me from the interracial dating and biracial episode in a minute, but I real quick also just want to share a couple of things to watch. So I'm going to keep this segment as well moving forward at the beginning, and this is just interesting, whether movies, television, interviews that I've watched or heard that I think you should listen to. So the first one, Wendy Williams was on The Breakfast Club. And after seeing clips of her documentary and just pictures and little snippets here and there, sometimes it's hard for me to watch people on interviews, especially after they've undergone significant trauma, because a part of me is like nervous. It sounds weird, but like I feel nervous that if they aren't acting the same way, I'm like nervous that the world is going to make fun of them, honestly. And so I was like really scared to watch watch this interview. I thought she would be physically on the show, but because of her conservatorship, she is locked away in what her and her niece, who was kind of helping her through this, are calling, I think they called it like luxury jail or something to that effect, where she's basically just like locked in a room in this building. Other people live there. She's in a room with a bed and a TV and a toilet, and like she can't really have visitors, and they take her phone away. Just like really fucked up shit. And so I highly recommend you watch that episode of The Breakfast Club. I don't support The Breakfast Club because oftentimes it's giving buffoonery, coonery, and also Jess with the Mess, Jess Hilarious, blocked me like 5 years ago now for some really like something so I don't want to say immature, but just shows her like her insecurities, despite her being like a huge transphobe and shit. So I will never ever watch The Breakfast Club really unless I like have to. But I would just go pay some support to Wendy Williams because the story is crazy. The other thing to watch, the television show Severance on Apple TV. It's fucking incredible. I just rewatched all of season 1, which is like a 9-hour ordeal. Literally binged it in 2 days. And season 2 just dropped. I just finished it. It's just really smart and captivating, and I love the main actor. God, I am so bad with names as I'm Googling this again. Tremel Tillman. So he seemingly has a much bigger role this season. Love seeing our Black Kings like get the shine that they deserve, because he was just really, he's just so incredible in season 1. So excited for that. That has been What to Watch. If you have anything you want me to watch, let me know, because at this point I'm open. I just watched Vox Machina. That's another really good one. It starts to get a little predictable and like not as riveting, but it's still like queer and sexy and funny, and I love that lore. It's just so fun. So these are my things to watch. If you have any suggestions, email me at hello@queersandsteers.com and I will find the time to watch. But I need new animes to watch. I love, honestly, most of what Apple has been putting out on Apple TV Plus has been incredible. But yeah, I want some anime, I want some cartoons, I want some fantasy, like Lord of the Rings type shit. I also love, yeah, like sci-fi, whatever. Give me your suggestions. Let me sip this water, honey. Every time you hear silence, just know it's me chilling, like sipping water and gathering my thoughts. Pretend it's a commercial. Actually, you know what? Don't pretend it's a commercial. Be glad that I'm not monetized, because you just get me, and like me breathing for 7 seconds is better than being like, do you have bad days sometimes? Call BetterHelp. Like, I also heard the owners of BetterHelp are Zionists, so I'm not really gonna support them. Anyway, Okay, so let's get into the meat. So I'm gonna read these emails that two people sent me from in response to my last episode, Interracial Impetus. The first one, I'm not gonna give their names because unless they want me to, I'll put their names and or their social media handles in the description if they give me permission. But as of recording this video, when I asked people to email me through my Instagram, I said that I said that it would be anonymous. So I'm not gonna say their names. If you see their name in the caption of this, then I got their permission, but otherwise this is anonymous. So this is from R, and he's talking about specifically me mentioning death and getting older on the last episode. So, Olas Jenks, very much enjoyed the recent episode and wanted to engage when you asked about death and aging. So on death, some context, I grew up in suburban Los Angeles with some homophobic cousins and the media being deeply closeted, but I knew early that I was gay, struggling with body dysmorphia and eating disorders since middle school. I never thought I'd live long enough, or even maybe pretty early on, nor did I really want to live long. I thought I would die at 27 like the cool kids, and this person is referencing, man, why can't I think of these people's names? All of those fucking, Kurt Cobain, there we go. He died at 27. There were a bunch of other people, I think, who died at 27, and it was supposed to be this like cool kid club where like all the meaningful white people who were alt and like had an impact on society all died at 27. So I actually had friends growing up who also wanted to die at 27 because they thought it was cool. Anyway, I've never personally really been scared of death. Also, bring into body horror and horror in general, I've accepted death in many ways, and through ableist lens, I'm currently working on having witnessed my grandparents go through Alzheimer's and watching Still Alice. I've never watched Still Alice personally, so maybe I need to watch that. I've sort of made the decision I don't want to live if I'm not myself anymore. My partner and parents feel similar. None of us want to live as if we don't know ourselves. Example, my partner lives for tennis. If he were permanently disabled, it would be hard for him. He got really depressed when he got sciatica and he was out for a year. Also, with the state of the world in the future, I keep thinking about when I will have the fuck it moment and not have things to live for, and use that as motivation to do some drastic things like terrorize local slumlords and other people, and other terrible people, but I'll die in some terrible but meaningful way. As for aging, I'll be 41 in April. My dysmorphia for 3 decades, on and off again. Eating disorder, it's been hard to gauge my thoughts on my body and aging and separating that because I've gone through many identities and feels over the years. I'm just reading through this. My parents and brother have plenty of health issues, and my partner getting taken out by the sciatica gave me an adverse reaction to risk my health. So COVID made that worse. I'm pretty isolated to avoid getting really sick. I don't like putting myself in physical harm and partly don't like sport as a result. Thanks for doing the podcast. Need to listen to more. Hope you're well. Take care. So that was from R. Again, I tried to summarize. Some of these emails are lengthy, but lengthy in a good way. I'm just doing this for the sake of time to cover everything else in this episode. So R, thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I think that that's an interesting take. I'm ruminating on that because I haven't really read these much until just now. I feel like I'm the opposite, where like sometimes I have body dysmorphia, but it's like, that's an interesting way of thinking about it. I don't think my body dysmorphia has ever contributed to my perception of death or not, but there's a part of me that like wishes that I could take the body dysmorphia I sometimes have and allow that to make me feel calmer about death, which is, I guess maybe that sounds kind of dark, like, well, I felt so fucked up about my body, like whatever happens, happens. Yeah, that's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. I need to ruminate on that a little bit more. And then the other email is from E, and they're talking a lot about race specifically. So I'm gonna actually try to read most of this. So I'm a black gay cisgendered male who is proudly queer, attracted to other males, and in touch with all of his masculine and feminine fibers. If I look back at my catalog of lovers, majority of them have been white or white passing. I've had 2 serious relationships, and both of them have been wonderful, but very Anglo-Saxy. While this gives me pause, I don't quite know what to do about it. I'm born of Caribbean father and native New York mother in the projects of Bronx. Both kids and adults were accusing me of being a little zest zeman, so a faggot, before I even knew what that was. We moved down to the South when I was 7, and that's where I was introduced to racism. Redneck children whose mama and auntie were the same person, so a chance to feel like they were superior to someone based on factors inalterable by nature was too rich for their dusty little dirty fingernailed hands to pass up. While navigating racism through my elementary school years, I made friends with all races due to my varied interests and overall charisma, but my best friends were Black, bonded by our shared culture. Fast forward to high school. That year I lost so many of my Black friends due to coming out as queer the summer before school started. Here began my journey along the fringes where it was okay to like anime, listen to emo, dye my hair, wear colored contacts, and basically express myself in edgy ways definitive of teenage angst and self-exploration. All of this roused ridicule and moral insults from Black kids my age for daring to explore interests in things beyond what was modeled and marketed by the Gen Pop. Looking back, I never really fit in perfectly with those alt-white kids, but they didn't question my authenticity as a Black person. They didn't cast me out of a culture I was born into because they didn't have the power to. Instead, they let me be an awkward teenager and accepted me as just another quirky kid who couldn't be them, but was at least good enough to be part of the crew. It's cringy to think about the microaggressions I faced just to be part of the community. That part. Now, all these years later, loving the skin I'm in, I've shed some of the trauma from that time and moved to Atlanta to be in a Black-ass city where people not only look like me, but also share similar interests and values. The art scene is rife with rhythm and a presence that makes me proud to live here. As for dating, I can't escape the occasional accusation of only liking white boys or being accused of liking doing white people stuff when expressing my interests in music, hobbies, or even my freedom from Christianity. It feels exhausting to have to defend my right to exist, especially when my intention is to connect. It's like subconsciously I feel so bonded to, yet often disavowed from a culture that still suffers from the vestiges of white supremacist terrorism, vestiges that give us strict and often reductive guidelines on what it means to be Black. Vestiges like internalized homophobia that have roots tied to buck breaking intended to emasculate men and cause shame. Vestiges like unshakable conservatism towards anything outside of the familiar and strict adherence to not trusting anyone above God, a God that so strangely shares the same face as the oppressor. It's things like this that initially fooled me into thinking other, quote unquote, was better, but now instead just leaves me wishing I could find a chosen tribe within my cultural tribe. I want to make peace with this. Black people make everything pop off and have an undeniable effect on culture as a whole. We're fucking magic. Sincerely, a black sheep looking for his black shepherd. Honestly, perfection. I don't have any notes. I think our experiences are very, very, very similar. And and I said this in the episode, consciously having to break bread with yourself and come to terms with the fact that even though our attractiveness to whiteness, or I mean, it sounds crazy to say, but our attractedness to white supremacy at a point in time is something that you don't even know is happening. And it hurts even more, especially when you are feeling like the community that you are a part of, is your community, the Black community, is using those same tools against you simultaneously, is just such a mind fuck. And so I really appreciate you sharing this, and I absolutely relate. I love what you talked about, the vestiges at the end, and how, trying to find your tribe, and a lot of these communities, like I said, are adhering to the same standards of white supremacy. It's all just a lot. But you, moving to a Black city and just being mindful of all of this and finding your tribe and being your whole unapologetic self is the most that we can do. So I really appreciate you sharing this, and I relate for sure. Same thing goes for this episode. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, input about what I'm talking about today, or if you still have some leftover thoughts from interracial impetus, feel free to email me, hello@queersandsteers.com, or you can just email me to talk shit, tell me I'm pretty, send me money. All of that is allowed here. hello@queersandsteers.com. Let me take another sip of water, baby, because here comes the meat. So let's talk about the ruling class. Where do I even want to fucking begin? So I might be bouncing around a lot this episode because so much is happening so quickly, and I'm really just trying to, some of this is venting, but I'm really trying to put pieces together for you. I suspect that a lot of people who are listening to this proactively, who know me, already have the pieces together. If you have been shared this or you're finding me organically, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but that's going to be the purpose of today, talking about the ruling class. So So Donald Trump is president of the United States. More than half the country voted for him to be the president of the United States. And when you think about he's the only president who is convicted of a felony. When you think about the comments he's made about Black people, about women, about trans people, about disabled people, it is terrifying that more than half of people who voted in this last election voted for this man. And simultaneously, you have companies who are warming up to him, giving him a platform to speak, giving him money. I mean, they're dick riding. They're dick riding. There isn't another way to say it. So you've got Tim Cook, who was a whole ass homosexual man, donated $1 million to Trump's campaign. You've got Coca-Cola, who gave him, I was scrolling and I didn't even look at the picture because I think somebody posted it on Threads, and I don't use Threads. I don't need another social media app. I especially don't need another social media app created by Meta. Coca-Cola gave Trump like a commemorative Diet Coke, which I don't know if that was just like a special can. Like, I don't know if they made like a drinkable Coca-Cola can that like has his face or his name on it. I don't know if it was like a trophy. I don't care. But the fact that we have multiple companies now dick riding it's concerning, but it's not a surprise. At the inauguration, Google CEO was there, Elon Musk was there, Jeff Bezos was there, all front row. And I think it's easy for these companies who can say, oh, well, we're just trying to be, we're trying to get on the same page. None of these CEOs ever did anything similar for a Democratic candidate, first of all. So, and I think on the other side of this, people are considering, well, they have to dick ride because it's gonna allow them to function and like function in the same way and be free, and that maybe they don't want to pay taxes, like whatever they're doing. And this idea of people, and I see this all the time, people who defend CEOs and corporations really just makes my asshole itch. I don't understand it. You think that all of these fucking billionaires who are warming up to Trump are doing this to help their customers and to help you? You really think that you're going to get a raise, a financial raise from this? You really think that the ruling class is going to lower the cost of goods and services by these rich tech CEOs not only meeting with Donald Trump, not only giving him a platform, but like paying him actual dollars to continue being a bigot? So at the inauguration, which I didn't watch, as I said in the beginning, I don't really know what happened. I don't know if it's still going on, but like on social media, just barely an hour ago, it was blowing up, and it was a video of Elon Musk thanking the crowd for their contribution. He wouldn't be here without them. And then he does a literal Nazi salute. This is on live TV. Now, as I record this, obviously the video is going viral. It's being posted everywhere. I'm really excited. I shouldn't say excited. I'm really interested to see how mainstream news, Fox, CNN, ABC, etc., like how they spin this. I want to know how they're going to spin it. It is unquestionably a Nazi salute, okay? Unquestionably a Nazi salute. And everyone who is intelligent on social media, well, I shouldn't say everyone on social media is intelligent, but the one in my bubble is reposting it and calling him out for what it is. And now I'm curious, one, are these mainstream news outlets like CNN, et cetera, are they going to comment on it at all, is my first question. And two, I want to know who they will give a platform to justify the behavior. So I've said on here before, my mom has voted for Donald Trump twice. He's voted for Donald Trump twice. And I'm not going to get into my relationship with my mother on here, but like we haven't texted about politics or anything like all week. And then randomly she texts me a picture of like, oh, the TikTok ban is lifted. I'm like, okay, like why? I don't even use TikTok, so I don't know why she would send me that in the first place. I didn't respond. And then I see the video of Elon today, and I sent her that video because I'm like, girl, she always said like, oh, Elon's a quack or whatever. But I'm like, well, the guy that you voted for is like obsessed with him. So I sent her the video, and I was texting my friend who works in production in Canada at the same time. So I sent my boy the video of Elon saying that, because I don't know if you knew this, but Canada suppresses like all non-Canadian news sources. So anytime I send him something from literally like Al Jazeera or CNN or I don't know, actually I don't know if NPR is blocked there, but like every time I send him a video on Instagram, he's like, oh, content unavailable, because Canada they block other news. And this guy he is a producer at like a major television network in Canada, but his access to the news, like global geopolitical news, has to come through their own channels. It can't come through other sources, which is just like, you know, you look at other countries and you're like, oh, Canada, you know, they got free healthcare, and, you know, even though it's like a Western colonial nation, it's still, you know, there's some good things about it, but at the same time, they've already have been experiencing fascist media, oh my God, what's the word? I just had a brain fart. A fascist media like blackout, I guess you could say. So I've been sending him that. So at the same time I was sending my homeboy, this producer, the video, I also sent it to my mom, and so I said to my friend, I was like, how do you think it's going to be justified? Because you know there's going to be a PR campaign for Elon or Trump or Republicans or Fox News to justify the behavior. And as soon as I sent him that message, a text from my mom comes in, and she's like, oh, well, people say he's autistic. But she goes, people say he's autistic, but I just think he's a crook, is what she said. So, but and I don't think she supports Elon Musk. I don't know. But the fact that even she had the foresight that her, you know, True Social, Facebook, right-wing QAnon channels are like saying, oh, well, he's autistic. So, you know, but at the same time, though, that is what I expected the excuse to be, or what the excuse is going to be if other news outlets start reporting that he did this. Is like, oh, he's just autistic. Okay, cute. I have dated somebody autistic. I am friends with autistic people. Autism doesn't make you racist. It doesn't make you do Nazi salutes. That is inherently who he is. And I did like the justification of this behavior from him, from Trump, from other people, even within like leftist and liberal people who justify shitty behavior because you like someone's music or because they're black or whatever. I think it's all a part of this indoctrination, which I'm going to get to a little bit later about like social media indoctrination in general. But like this idea that you can't hold people accountable because you like twerking to their music is white supremacist, apartheid, capitalism at its finest. Oh, speaking of terrible white CEOs in power, let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg has announced with his Jerry curl and gold chain that Meta is cutting DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion initiatives at the company. And alongside this, because he's saying that there will be also less restrictions and like more free speech, I'm putting that in air quotes, on Meta's apps, so Facebook, Instagram, Threads, etc. As a result, it is like, essentially it's okay for people to say that trans and queer people are mentally disabled because they're queer or trans. I need everyone listening to know, and I think everyone who is actively listening to this knows, I mean, you're listening to a podcast called Queers and Steers. Like, we've always been here. We've always been here. If you look back at indigenous life, indigenous culture, like two-spirit, multiple spirits, multiple genders, like all of that existed and was praised. Not just accepted or tolerated, it was praised. These entities, these trans, non-binary entities, were held in the highest regard before Western white colonialism kicked in. And when you think about that Western white colonialism and Christianity, which a lot of people in this country, black, white, regardless of race, regardless of gender, ethnicity, are Christians of white Jesus, white colonial Jesus. And if you really, really, really want to think about who is mentally ill, we need to start talking about how Christians are mentally ill. You talk to somebody who is Palestinian, a brown man, who you think is white and who you think hates gay people and is going to bring you up to his heaven because you think that trans people shouldn't exist. That is the Jesus that I would say, like, again, I don't have any definitive numbers, but I would suspect that most people who consider themselves Christian in this country, or maybe not a higher percentage of Christians in this country, think that them being bigoted and exploiting people in the church, like these commercial churches, being racist, low-key, the fact that there are like no women in high powers in Christian churches by design, all of these people think that way, think that they are God's chosen people. But also, I grew up in a church that was praying in tongues and saw women as subservient, and like, if the society at large looks at that and thinks that that isn't mental illness, but then looks at me on my knees sucking dick and sees that as mental illness, meanwhile they're cheating on their spouses with trans people, like, I think the term mental illness, we need to take ownership of that word. We need to take back ownership of that word, because not only is Christianity a mental illness, heterosexuality is a mental illness. You cannot tell me that all of these people, specifically men who love sports, who wear another man's name on his back, who will fight someone because they talk shit about his team, all his burly men. You are not heterosexual. You're more obsessed with a man's athleticism than like your child's 5th birthday. Like, and you know, we say this all the time. Like, there's been so many studies that say homophobic men specifically, I need to find this, but it's like, I think I've said this on another episode, but some psychology practice or psychiatry practice took a whole bunch of men, like hundreds or 1,000 men. Some were homophobic, some weren't. I think all of them identified as straight, and made them watch porn, straight and gay porn. And like, the amount of homophobic men who got erections by watching the gay porn compared to just the straight men who weren't homophobic was like astronomical. I'm going to find this. It's a really old study. I'm going to find it and link it in the description. I think the moral of this is oftentimes people who hate on other people are just suppressing the feelings within themselves. And we know that. But let's get back to Mark Zuckerberg. Actually, you know what? I don't really need to add anything about Mark Zuckerberg. I think I wanted to bring this up to cover these talking points, that Christianity and heterosexuality is a mental illness. I think that mental illness is not communicating your needs in general. I've talked about this before. I was in like a 2.5, almost 3-year long, I don't want to call it a relationship, but like a straight homie that I went to college with who is married. We were exchanging dick pics, videos, flirting, playing like games with each other, basically during the initial years of the pandemic. If you are dating someone with whom you don't feel comfortable expressing your desires and passions, which I get it. I'm not immune to this either. I'm not saying that I'm not mentally ill for other reasons, but being queer is not one of the reasons I'm mentally ill. But if you are unable to communicate your needs and feelings to your partner, and thus causes you to, one, live in secret and to cheat on them with somebody who you say you're not actually attracted to because you're not actually gay, you just like attention, that is mental illness. Mental illness is pretending to be a certain way, a different way than what your heart desires. To me, that's mental illness. Mental illness is imposing your beliefs and fears onto someone else. I would define it, hopefully a psychologist or psychiatrist or therapist would define all of these as some sect of mental illness. On the flip side of that, me loving who I want to love and dressing how I want to dress and listening to the music I want to listen to and projecting a vibe of feeling, androgyny, whatever. If people think that me being true to myself is mental illness and lying to yourself and the people around you is not mental illness, I don't know. I think that you need a therapist. I think that you just shouldn't exist. No, that's not fair to say. You should exist, but you shouldn't be able to go outside. Like, you shouldn't be seen in the public eye. You should be like underground, in a bunker. Like, maybe you can come out and see, like Severance. You should honestly just like live in a little basement forever and technically never see the light of day because you got fucked up ideals, baby. One thing I wanted to add, I should have added this to my what to watch section, but the last thing I'll say about this DEI efforts on queer and trans people and like this attack on our livelihood. Baby, this is Keke Palmer, had an episode a few months ago with T.S. Madison. It is a must watch. T.S. Madison says, she talks about how like suppressing who you are is sacrificing your happiness. You maybe are sacrificing your potential soulmate if you believe in soulmates because you're like, you know what? I could never be with a trans person, or I could never be with a member of the same sex because I'm scared because of religious indoctrination. Meanwhile, you're like on Pornhub, assuming that your country hasn't banned it in your state, but you're on Pornhub and you are searching for gay men or men. You are searching for trans women, but you can't admit that to yourself or your spouse, or you justify it in your head. I used to justify that as a kid, and I get it. Like, when I was a kid and I was sexually experimenting with a ton of people, one of them was my bestie. He was a skateboarder. We used to like skateboard. I tried learning how to skateboard with him, and it wasn't until, again, we got to high school and I started becoming more effeminate, and he removed himself from me. I say understandably back, not justifiably, but for him, that was kind of the norm is, well, that person's gay, got to steer clear of them. But he and I used to fuck around. I don't remember exactly what we did. This is probably like 12, 13 years old. I had convinced myself that as long as I didn't like penetrate him anally, I wasn't gay. Like, I could be healed and my sins could be washed away, whatever it was. I was like, oh no, I could touch and suck and kiss, even dry hump. We used to dry hump each other all the time, like naked. And I still, in my head, was like, this is okay. I'm going to be okay because I'm not dishonoring God if I'm not like penetrating. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of penetration now at 35 years old. But I bring up that story because people really do justify it in their heads how they can act one way behind the scenes and project something elsewhere. And I think with a lot of these tech CEOs who are inherently just are gutter butt, disgusting, misogynistic bigots, like they're able to be scummy behind the scenes and then project that onto others by like condemning other people for doing things or taking people's free speech away or giving everyone quote unquote free speech seemingly, but then suppressing certain things. Like, it's all this weird sociopathic way of living where it like absolves them from, they think it comes across like they're absolving themselves from this dark secret life that they live. Meanwhile, Zuckerberg, Facebook initially was a project that he did in school to like rate women. It was kind of like the Hot or Not website. I don't know if you watching this remembers Hot or Not, but like it was a website you would literally upload your picture and there was a scale. I don't think it was to 10. I feel like it was like to 7, but maybe it was, where people would just rate your hotness and you got like an average score. So that's what Facebook was before it became Facebook. So yeah, talk about mental illness. I think Zuckerberg is mentally ill. Not in a cute queer way where you're like, oh, I have daddy issues, or I'm a people pleaser because I'm so used to being treated like shit that I felt like I had to try to please everyone around me for my safety. Like that to me, that sect of mental illness is completely different than like, I'm a white supremacist and I'm a fascist and I'm going to suppress media and news about Palestine and about queer people and trans people because I love oligarchs. That is two completely different mental illnesses. I want to talk about TikTok as well. You can't talk about this suppression without talking about TikTok. So and I want to say this first because I think that everyone is missing this. When Donald Trump was president the first time, he was the first to bring up and impose a TikTok ban. I have a collage of screenshots from news articles back then, 2019 and 2020, where Donald says, I'm going to ban TikTok. He's the one who introduced the legislation that has now led to this quote unquote banning of TikTok. Something triggered Trump about TikTok specifically, where he was like, not happy, right? He's a narcissist, he's a sociopath. So he had TikTok on a dartboard, whatever, that he was ready to take out. And then when Biden and Dems took office, they were continuing, so they kind of just carried it over the finish line because, as you know, both Democrats and Republicans are paid and bought by AIPAC, by Zionism. And the reason, and this is like, Blinken was interviewing that other dude who ran for president back in the day. I think he was VP. Oh, God, I can't remember these white people's names. But Blinken is like the Secretary of Defense or whatever, or he was. He was interviewing this VP elect or this presidential candidate. It was right there. I had it. It'll come to me. But he essentially said verbatim, like, most of the hashtags between Palestine and Israel and all of the bombardment that has been happening, like 100 times more were pro-Palestine than they were for like, I stand with Israel. And if you connect the dots, like Blinken grandfather or like great-grandfather, somebody was a Zionist, and his stepfather was also like a Zionist who has ties to AIPAC. And like when you connect all these dots, I say this to say that TikTok is being banned because of education, of knowledge, and because it was the first time in history that 170 million people can see not only the atrocities of Israel and Israel's existence, but how the US is complicit and actively supporting this white supremacist genocide. Biden was just interviewed. He announced it. He said, Biden said, right after October 7th, when all this started happening, you can search this clip. It's on like St. Hoax, I'm pretty sure, posted this clip. But it's Biden essentially saying that when he first started talking to Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the prime minister, the whatever of Israel, who's controlling all of this, Biden said he spoke with him and said, you can't just carpet bomb innocent people. And Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, his response was, well, you all did it during World War II. And since that conversation, again, that was a few months allegedly after October 7th, 2023. Yet this entire time, we've been giving billions of dollars to Israel mostly in weapons. But meanwhile, we know that they're committing war crimes, but we're giving them all of our money. Meanwhile, homelessness is higher than it's ever been. It went up 18% since last year. Poverty is up. Nobody can afford food or groceries. Inflation is up. The rich people are getting richer. The poor people are getting poorer. All of this, now we're getting rid of diversity, equity, inclusion, which wasn't putting I say marginalized, but like wasn't putting black or brown or indigenous people above white people. It was just like giving us a seat at the table. And now, because of Trump, because of Zuckerberg, because of Elon Musk, everyone's saying like, oh, well, we don't have money to support everyone having an equal way of living, but we do have money to continue killing brown people overseas. So that's what the TikTok ban is all about. It has nothing to do with like Chinese propaganda or our security. If it had to do with our security, why doesn't this country ban Shein or Temu or plastic? Like, if microplastics are so bad, why are we allowing these companies, whether it's home appliances or food, like there is so much food that we are sold and eat in this country that is banned in Europe and other places because it's like cancer causing or toxic. Meanwhile, in California, they've got like Proposition, what is it, Prop 65 or whatever, where you go into a parking garage or you buy something from the store and it's got a little prop on it like, this is touching or has been around products that cause cancer. Why don't you just get rid of the shit that causes cancer? You want to ban an app that 170 million people use to be informed and educated and to make money, yet you're letting us eat and consume toxic chemicals every fucking day? Why aren't we outlawing alcohol? Alcohol is a poison. Alcohol, I believe for women it's higher than men, but you have like a 25% increase likelihood in getting cancer if you drink alcohol. Meanwhile, I'm in a state that marijuana is still illegal. People who drive on weed don't get in car accidents. People who are smoking weed aren't like beating their spouses or flipping cars over after a football game. Meanwhile, alcohol does all of this. Why don't we outlaw it? Capitalism! So this TikTok proposal, it's been months in the making. Supreme Court was like, yeah, we don't give a fuck, go ahead and do it. And so TikTok went down yesterday, Sunday the 19th, for like 12 hours. And when it went down, a little note came up that was like, TikTok is being banned, but we look forward to working with President Trump to get this rectified. Like the app, so you would open up TikTok on yesterday and you would just get a notification pop up that blocked you from doing anything, that all you could do is read it and close out of the application, and it named Donald Trump. 12 hours later, the app comes back and says, Donald Trump saved us. We have TikTok again. Mind you, Biden just said before leaving office, like, I'm not going to uphold this. I'm not going to do it. Now, it doesn't absolve Democrats because despite Trump being the first person to being the first person to bring up this TikTok ban and to put it in everyone's heads, both Dems and Republicans carried it out. And carrying it out was like, by carrying out, I mean, this whole thing was just a 12-hour PR stunt for Trump. Like the biggest advertising platform he could have ever imagined, by showing 170 million people a little blurb that's like, blurb A, on Sunday, TikTok is being banned. Trump is going to save us. Stand by. And then 12 hours later, TikTok is saved for now. Thank you, President Trump. And somebody else said this. Shout out to a homie, Max, who, ironically, we went on Birthright together in my 20s. He's also an anti-Zionist Jew like myself. He posted this on his story, and the timing, we were so in sync emotionally because I had a bunch of screenshots from Twitter or from other places that aligned with his thinking, which there was never going to be a ban. What TikTok has done, especially with them being down for 12 hours, that's like system maintenance, boo. That is maintenance. And what I mean by that is if you search, and I don't necessarily believe that Trump has rigged the election, I don't know, but if you search Donald Trump rigged election in TikTok right now, while you're in the United States, it says content not found. Let me actually read this to you. I hope my iPad synced. It did. Okay, so if you search Donald Trump rigged election on TikTok, you get no results found. This phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Promoting a safe and positive experience is TikTok's top priority. For more information, we invite you to review our community guidelines. Search TikTok right now in the US. However, if you are in the EU and you search Donald Trump rigged election, tons of content. There's no warning, there's nothing. It's literally screenshots and videos of Trump saying, I remember seeing this video. I think he just says like, you don't need to worry about Like, we don't even need the votes. We got the votes. Don't even worry about it. And people are using that to imply that he was agreeing or announcing to the world that, oh, well, this election is this election is rigged. Votes don't matter because we got it in the bag no matter what. So now TikTok, Facebook, Threads, Twitter, all of these apps are now being controlled by fascists. I don't really use TikTok. I have it for when people send me videos just to watch, but I'm addicted to Instagram. I don't scroll TikTok like I think most people scroll TikTok. I'm doing that on Instagram. I should probably have been doing it on TikTok, but I was like, well, I don't want to learn a new app and I don't need a whole nother app to be addicted to, but I know that TikTok offers more insightful things, I would suspect, than Instagram does. But anyway, all of these apps that we use every day are now indoctrinated and are now run by fascism. And I felt like TikTok was the one where we might have been safe. Like the owner, who I believe Singaporean, when he was being grilled about, oh, is TikTok funneling news and information like American people, U.S. citizens' data to China? And he's like, no, I'm not even Chinese. Like, what are you talking about? I really thought that he was like for the people, that he was gonna like stand up for us and be like, fuck you all. But he just gave his platform to Donald Trump. And again, people might say like, oh, well, it's a game of chess. Like these CEOs have to like, so in the CEOs of TikTok's defense, it's like, well, if he doesn't warm up to him, then they're just going to ban his app and he's going to lose everything. It's like, if you are that powerful, you shouldn't be warming up to these people. If you are a billionaire or a millionaire or have a platform that millions or billions of people use, you are powerful. But I think that also just speaks to what capitalism is. It's like if you are a CEO and a billionaire and have that much control over society, for you to feel like you need to bend over and dick ride somebody like Donald Trump, I think it just shows that you're actually weak. You're weak. And if you didn't have all of that money, if you didn't have all of that now power from these things that you created, I'm not saying you're dumb. If you can create an app, good for you. But if Elon Musk is any testament, Elon Musk is a fucking idiot. He just had rich parents. But if you bend over to Trump or to Elon or any of these people, if you dick ride, if you're a fucking, if you're middle class or lower class, you make $20 an hour and you think that Elon Musk or Donald Trump gives a fuck about you. Donald Trump has gold toilets in his house. You think he gives a fuck about you? He doesn't. None of these people do. But half of you voted for him, so, again, time will tell. Time will tell. But fascism is here. Fascism has been here. Fascism is not limited to Democrats or Republicans. But I think we're certainly over the finish line now, for sure. The last thing I want to talk about before I wrap are the LA fires. Let me take another sip of water. I'm not wearing underwear and I just sat on my balls and that fucking hurt. Oh, fuck. I think it's easy to understand why these fires happened. California has been really dry. If it does rain, I remember when I lived there, it was like flooding. I think the year I moved away, that winter of it was either I think it was early 2023, like terrible flooding. Couldn't even go outside because the streets were flooded. But oftentimes it's really dry and droughty, and climate change is directly impacting that. Not only climate change, which is caused by every administration, every company. I think it's like the top 10 companies or something like that. It's less than 20 companies account for like over 80% of the world's emissions that are warming our atmosphere, that are leading to climate crisis. The other thing besides climate crisis that is leading to these fires, leading to the drought that makes fires more likely to occur, is that indigenous land is being cut down, is being ignored. The indigenous people who lived on the land are being relocated or imprisoned or killed. If you recall Cop City being built here in Atlanta, people who are trying to protect the land and prevent Cop City from being built, they killed one of the activists during one that we know of. But in Los Angeles, indigenous folks used to participate in controlled burning because burning in controlled ways refreshes the land. Indigenous people knew that the earth and the land and the vegetation, some of it needs to burn because there are nutrients in that help like rekindle the soil and allow new things to grow. And they grow in ways that actually ward off and prevent other natural fires. Whereas now, because everything's dry and you have these corporations who are sucking up the water. I forget their names off the top of my head. I'm not going to take the time to Google it right now. But there's a couple in Los Angeles who owns like a shit ton of the water because they're the Wonderful brand of pistachios. That company, it's a married couple. They own like a huge percentage of water in California. They also have lobbied the U.S. government to go to war with Iran because Iran makes and grows pistachios as well. And this LA-based Zionist couple wanted a monopoly on pistachios. So they lobbied for us to go to war against some of these countries because they want to destroy their pistachios. Essentially, colonialism and racism and capitalism directly led to the fires in LA. Now, I'm not going to say that like there was at least one person arrested for starting fires or they were caught like with a blowtorch. And I think the neighborhood called the police and the guy was arrested, but then I think he was released because they couldn't find probable cause, whatever. I don't know if people were actually starting fires, but a lot of the people who wanted to point to, why the fires were starting, these conspiracy theories were saying that like, oh, it's like immigrants. It's because of the border. It was Mexicans starting fires. Or there was a video circulating by a black MAGA dude who has a white girlfriend or wife or whatever, that black people were looting. Meanwhile, the video was of men helping the person who lived there like carry their belongings outside. And it was like it was very clear that like there were firefighters and tons of people there. They weren't running. They weren't like, it was like, just from the context of the video, you can tell that that wasn't what was going on. But there, you could find the interview of the woman whose house that was like the day before saying like, oh, thankful to have my community here helping me like take all my stuff outside before it all burns to the ground. My friend who knows me all too well, we were talking about the LA fires and he goes, how do you feel about the rich people? And when he asked me, I said, you know me all too well, sir, because I had to really sit with this and think about it, because when the fires first started happening, I'm not going to lie, my brain immediately went to like, well, Palisades is private. Like, I even looked up the net worth of people who live there, and it's like high net worth. A lot of celebrities live there and own property there. And in my mind, and I need you to sit with me for a second, I equate a lot of Hollywood and the elite with Zionism, because so many of these people were openly supporting Israel when this genocide first started playing out this round in 2023. The genocide's been happening since for decades. But like people like fucking Jamie Lee Curtis, I believe her house burnt down. Known Zionist, known supporter of Israel, can't stand her. And so I think that's where my mind first went. I'm like, Pasadena, rich people, Zionism, Hollywood, Scientology, who gives a fuck? Fuck them. And I do want to say, if you're a Zionist and your house burnt down, I really don't give a fuck. I don't have any sympathy for you. I don't. However, I don't condemn or say that like, oh, well, they're the rich, they're non-Zionist rich people. Like, that still fucking sucks. Like, I can still empathize for you. Like, I will one day be rich and also have a mansion. And if my shit burned down, that would be devastating. And whether or not I could afford to rebuild, I don't, like, who knows? That's the hope. Or that I have insurance. But like, to lose everything that you have, it fucking sucks. And I empathize with you regardless of class or anything else, except if you're a Zionist. If you're a Zionist, I could give a fuck less, because you have been promoting not only everyone's homes being destroyed in Gaza, but like hundreds of thousands of people losing their lives. So you don't deserve a home if you're a Zionist. Sorry, not sorry. But I do want to say, and again, this is going to be a controversial take, but it's actually not controversial. It's just like, I think there are people who are going to be like, ooh, that's so fucking shitty to say, but I really don't care. What the LA fires have shown me is that people are capable of compassion. So many people are capable of compassion. And like, having lived in LA for 5 years, it is really devastating to me to see a place burn that I've like walked on. Like I've walked on the earth that is currently scorched by these fires. I take offense actually that there are some, I don't want to say there's a lot, but like enough for me to notice, who are in Los Angeles, who are impacted by these fires, and who are, whether it was themselves, their friends or family, who are supporting and speaking up and rallying and donating and setting up GoFundMes and all of that. Like, thank God. Like, thank God that humanity exists. And it should. And I'm not saying that you like have to stand for everything in the world, because I mean, you should stand for everything in the world, but like, I don't condemn everyone for that, because I'm not perfect either. But I just want to say that like, this has shown me that everyone is capable of giving back to their communities. Everyone is capable of using their social media platforms to share life-saving resources. In this year, 2025 and beyond, especially considering what we now have to face with Elon and this oligarch and Trump, and he's already talking about, I just saw this today as well, he's going to sign an executive order that says there are only two sexes, men and women, that's it. Like, we're already under attack. It's been 5 hours since he was inaugurated. We need to show up for each other in 2025. We need to have compassion. I need to see more of it. I expect the content you publish on your social media pages to contain at the very least equal parts personal and humanitarian content. And I have to say this, and I'm gonna lean, if you're listening to this, you can't see me lean forward, but I'm leaning forward if you're watching this on YouTube. If your house has to burn down for you to give a fuck about humanity, actually, I wrote this down. I wrote down what I intended to say. I'm not even gonna say that, because that's dark. And I don't actually mean what I intended to say, but your house should not have to burn down for you to give a fuck. I'm gonna say it like that. Your house or your friends or your family's house should not have to burn down for you to integrate humanitarian efforts in your day-to-day. If you only break your curated little feed when something literally affects you in your backyard, all I can say is we've got a lot to work to. If that's what half the country does or thinks, that you can only advocate or speak up for somebody if it directly affects you and your current livelihood, your situation, we are not prepared. We are not prepared for the fascism that we are facing. We're not. So I'm going to leave you with this. 3 really simple ways that you can help. Now, to me, these are the bare minimum. Like, you should go out and volunteer. You should go out and collect funds. You should go out and work at a soup kitchen. You should go out and protest. There are so many ways that you can physically put your body somewhere else to drive change. Not everyone can do that. People have disabilities. People are being mindful of like not catching COVID again, right? Like, there are so many reasons why advocacy at home on your couch is really necessary, especially in today's age of social media, but like in today's age of like the harm that the outside world instills upon us, and like the lack of effort by our government to protect us from things like COVID or protect us from things like bird flu. Like, sometimes the best way to create change is to do it in ways that are the easiest to access. And it's right here. It's your fucking iPad. It's your phone. So, bare minimum ways. Number 1, stop supporting people and brands that don't actively promote our liberation. I feel like we've all just gotten really okay with the bare minimum. Not me. but like the rest of y'all are just okay with the bare minimum. And I really try to understand where that comes from. I always bring up the same person. I'm going to try to think of another celebrity, but like there's so many celebrities that, you know, I can listen to their music, but I used to give so much more of a fuck about. If you are not proactively speaking up about what has been happening in Palestine, in Congo, in Sudan, in Hawaii, about anything, literally anything, just even once in a while. You don't have to, your whole existence doesn't have to be about those things. It should, but if not, like, do it every once in a while. It is really hard for me to give a fuck about anything mainstream, especially celebrities, especially brands that are not using their platforms to raise awareness. I just bought an air purifier. The company I currently work for gives us a benefit every year where we get reimbursed for like health related things. So I got an air purifier. And my first instinct was like, oh, I'm gonna post it on my Instagram and tag them, thinking like that will help me. But it doesn't. So what I did, I went to their website and I emailed them and found a way to like apply to be an ambassador or whatever, which I'm gonna get to capitalism in the next point below. But like your first instinct when you buy something or a product or you wanna tag a celebrity is for them to see you, right? You're like, oh, I got this cool thing, I wanna be seen. And then like maybe you tag a celebrity and then they repost you and then you repost their repost like, hey, this celebrity just acknowledged me. Look, everyone, I matter, I'm important. Fuck that shit. Who gives a fuck? You should be tagging and hope you get re-tagged by somebody who is raising money for homeless people in your community. Who gives a fuck? And again, I say this respectfully, but also kind of not. Like, I don't give a fuck what SZA is saying or doing if she's not speaking up for injustices. I don't give a fuck I don't really promote or listen to or care about like white celebrities as a whole, but like Sabrina Carpenter, couldn't give a fuck less what she's doing. Has she ever posted about racism or Palestine or genocide? Don't give a fuck. I can listen to Espresso, but I'm not gonna be like, yes, queen, oh my God, mothering, blah, brat. Like, you will never ever get that from me ever again. I like don't give a fuck about celebrities or brands. And if you are somebody who is like an influencer and like want brands to notice you, you gotta stop giving it away for free. If you're spending your hard-earned cash on something and then expect that company to pay you or to notice you by you like sharing their product for free, like, baby, you are the visuals, baby. You are the ads. Like, companies don't, if a company doesn't have to pay you for advertising for them, you are literally working for free. So I will never, ever, ever tag a brand or tell you, like, people were messaging me like, oh, what's that purifier? Maybe it seems like gatekeeping because I could be helping people. I'm just gonna send them a link to a random one. Like, you know what? Here's a news article from Wired or The Verge or something that's like 20 of the best air purifiers. I'm gonna send you that and you can pick for yourself. But I'm not gonna just like tag a brand for them to get more customers if they're not paying me to do it. And that goes for celebs. And again, I get it. I feel like Michaela J, when her album, her EP came out, I like reposted the music video and she reposted it. And I was like, yes, love her, trans icon, like beautiful woman, yes. And I suspect, I'm pretty sure that Michaela J is on like the right side of history when it comes to Palestine and all of that. I feel like I remember her saying something, but regardless, like, I understand the joy of being noticed by somebody who is a celebrity. We need to really start shifting and tagging and promoting people who are like very actively rooted in our liberation, and that includes brands. The second rule I have out of two, or not even a rule, just like a new way of thinking if you're not already thinking this way, to move past this and to just take resources and money away from these companies while also holding our communities accountable. Incorporate just one human-centric or educational post in your feed. Like, if you post something on your story, like eating hot pot, add a little screenshot or something. Add something that is moving our liberation forward, something that is promoting resources or education that allows us to get out of this like capitalistic, apartheid, white supremacist society that we're living in. It makes a big difference. If you are still worried about your fucking color scheme on your feed or like how your posts come across, like, baby, we're beyond that. Like, I get maybe if you have ADHD or you're a graphic designer, you're like, oh, it's fucking with my ADHD. Everything needs to be curated and perfect. I empathize with that, actually. I do. Find ways to also create content that includes your passion for design that is also informing us and moving us forward along the path of liberation. And then the last thing that we can all do, and I think this is clear based on what I'm saying here too, is like practice capitalism, but don't lose your soul. It is impossible for us to exist on this planet and not contribute to systemic oppression with our dollars. It's impossible. There is no realistic way that we currently in this society that we all exist in across the fucking world can exist. No way we can exist and not contribute to modern day slavery, to racism, to war, to apartheid. Like, at one point, I dated this guy in LA years ago, and it was, I think I had Amazon Prime for years before, and then I canceled it. It was canceled for, I don't know, a year. I started dating this guy, and I was at his apartment, and he got like a bunch of Amazon packages delivered at once. And I was just like, oh, I canceled Amazon. Like, I don't want to give to Jeff Bezos or whatever. And he was like, you know what? He's like, nigga, my black ass and your black ass deserve to order an air conditioner and hair products and clothes and food and have it delivered next day. He was like, I deserve that as a black man in this country. And I was like, like, in a sense, like, I agree, right? Like, we should be able to enjoy the fineries in life, but like, we also have to be mindful that like Amazon is preventing unionization, and like Jeff Bezos is a shitty company, and people were dying. Like Amazon delivery drivers were peeing in jugs and dying because like heat stroke, and they had to, deliver in wildfires and all this shit. Like Amazon is not a good company. Apple, I'm a huge Apple fan because I used to work there. Apple is not a good company. They are extracting cobalt and resources from Sudan and Congo and other places that are literally like millions of people are dying or displaced or enslaved because of the technology. Amazon owns Whole Foods. Kroger, I think, is, Albertson and Kroger and all those companies, like they all kind of under the same umbrella are implementing smart, quote unquote, price tags that can just change on a dime. So if there's a water shortage in a city, in theory, they can decide, oh, well, this water that was $1.99, it's now $7.99 because it's in high demand. Food deserts. I live in Atlanta. There are so many grocery stores, healthy grocery stores and food kitchens and stuff on the north side, which is where it's mostly gentrified. On my side of town, I live on the south side, which, admittedly, I came in here with my middle-class salary and bought a house that used to be dilapidated and is now flipped. Like, I'm a part of the gentrification too, right? I don't want to say it's a food desert down here, but there surely aren't nearly as many. We have like a Walmart on this side of town. And then there's a Publix like way further, but the owner of Publix also donated like $100,000 to Trump's inauguration or his presidency fund. I say this to say that capitalism contributing to our own demise is set up that way by design. It's not your fault, but you can be more mindful, right? Again, I currently have Amazon Prime because I just do, right? Like, fuck me. I'm giving Jeff Bezos $15 a month. That's not good. I don't want to have to do that. But I also love Invincible and love some television shows, right? On Amazon Prime. Fuck me, right? However, I do it and try to be mindful to not contribute as much as I can in other ways. Elon Musk, I'm an electric car aficionado. I love cars and automotive culture. Queers and steers. Hello, steers. Go to my YouTube channel. Tons of car videos and content. That's what this channel originally was. It was for cars. I will never give Elon Musk money. And the gag is, like, the Tesla Model Y just got refreshed. I look at the news. I enjoy, like, understanding where technology is going. And I'm like, fuck, the Model Y is actually a sexy car. I would never buy it, ever. I'm actually gonna be in the market for a new car soon. You couldn't pay me to buy a Tesla. Now, if Elon Musk succumbed to, I don't know, old age or an injury or something, and he, went on to the afterlife in hell, then I might be like, oh, you know what? okay, now I think I'm ready to buy a Tesla. But while he is at the helm, would never consider buying a Tesla ever or anything else. An X subscription, a Twitter subscription. I don't like. Some of y'all are still paying that man money, but again, I'm paying Jeff Bezos, so it's like it's balance. It's really balanced, and I need all of us to be mindful of that. That like none of us are perfect, and every dollar we spend somewhere is contributing to oppression, war, apartheid, racism, bigotry. It just is. But what you have to do is like, don't beat yourself up, but you just have to be really mindful and smart as much as you can. I use an app called Boycat. So when I go to the grocery store, you can scan a barcode with this app or type it in, and it'll tell you if they are supporting Israeli genocide or slavery in the Congo or other places. Like there are other apps that do the same thing. Just really, really be mindful. Every time I see like Nestle or Coca-Cola, I'm like, thank God, like Coca-Cola owns like Toll House, or no, maybe it's Nestle, like Toll House cookies and Fanta, Nestle, Coca-Cola, like they're all under the same umbrella. And I'm like, I don't eat candy, I don't drink soda, like all that shit's deadly for you anyway. Like thank God that there are so many products on a day-to-day that I consume that are not directly or openly fascist. I'm not saying that the ones that I support or eat, like a brand of peanut butter that I buy, isn't. But again, I at least use this app to look if they are known, like doing it outwardly. And that's all you can do. So practice capitalism, but don't lose your soul in the process, while also being diligent and mindful of how you're playing into capitalism is super important. The sun has set since I've been here. That's all I've got on the ruling class, y'all. I hope this is helpful. I hope that we prioritize community forever, not just when Trump is in office, forever. It's already, again, it's almost 6 p.m. He was inaugurated at noon today. Like, we're already seeing executive orders to get rid of like pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, ending windmill, because Trump has always said that windmills hurt whales. Like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it doesn't even make any fucking sense. He's already trying to erase trans people. I've been telling my boyfriend forever, like for months. We've been together for 7 months, and I'm like, babe, please get your passport, please. I mean, I want to take him around the world, but also just like for safety reasons. And now I suspect that passports and all that shit's going to be really backed up. So like, everyone get your passport. Yeah, it's going to be scary as fuck. I'm going to continue to use my platform to grow and to also find ways that I could be way more intentional about building community. Like, yes, me sitting here talking to you and informing you is advocacy and is, I hate to say radical, but like is rooted in moving us towards liberation. But I know I could be doing more. So I need to think about what that more looks like and how I can be more supportive. Email me if you're an organization that is contributing to the greater good, or you want to be heard. If you're in Atlanta and you want to collaborate or coordinate something, please email me hello@queersandsteers.com. I would love to hear from you. Again, please like this, subscribe to this, replay it in the background, tell your friends. I really appreciate all of the support, and I love y'all. Let's get ready for this fucking Trump presidency and this oligarch expansion, because it's about to be a shit show. Peace and love. Thank you for watching Queers and Steers.